All right, Anthony, quick question for you. Am I in Darth Vader's chamber or am I in a Delta Sky Lounge? You tell me.
You're in purgatory.
Yes!
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality.
Hey everybody, welcome to No Vacancy Live. I'm at the Delta Sky Lounge at DFW Airport. I'm going to try my best not to scream too hard today. How are you, Anthony?
I am very well. If you just got a text from somebody say, hey, bruh, are you able to make breakfast tomorrow? I'm flying out tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
Isn't that like, I don't say, how can you make breakfast and fly out in the same morning and be at the airport?
This individual wants you to meet at like the McDonald's outside gate 3 at JFK.
So Peter Crissetti, if you hear this, please text me back.
I'll be seeing him next week at the lodging conference. Hey, I'm in Dallas. I'm headed home. Looking forward to going up to Providence for the Jewish holiday Rosh Hashanah this weekend. And I'll be at the lodging conference next week, where I'll be taking the main stage with a lot of great industry professionals like Barak Patel, chairman of AHOA, Danny Hughes, president of Hilton, Susie Greinall, the chairman of the Canadian Hotel Association, Greg Freeman of Petrie Hotels and Resorts, and Jay Kayafa, the COO of IHT. It should be a barn burner.
And how about Chip Rogers?
I'm going to be interviewing him after that panel, but he is not on the panel that I am on.
Excuse me.
He was on a panel I did 2 weeks ago in Orlando, so I had that
really
honor there. Yeah, so that was pretty cool. So, Anthony, one of the things we love talking about over here at No Vacancy are luxury hotels, right? And we've seen so much action in luxury hotels over the last number of years. It occurred to me, we haven't spoken to the good folks over at LXR, Hilton's Resort Collection, into the soft brand thing in the luxury category. So I wanted to fix that by bringing on Feisal Jaffer today, the global head of LXR Hotels Resorts. Faisal, great to see you.
Great to be here, and really honored to be on the #1 hospitality show.
Well, you should be. Can I get a salute, please? Or
I know.
Call us Mr. Mercury, Mr. House.
Yeah. Normally, Faisal, I'd be cheeky and say, well, after today's show, we'll probably be number 10. But I will refrain from.
Did you insult our guests before it started?
This is the way you connect with people. It really gets them to open up when you put them on the defense.
Glenn, this is not the way you connect with people. How many times have we had this conversation?
I know. I'm very awkward.
Your mother told you that because you were an only child.
That's funny. So, Faisal, you're coming to us from London today, presumably at one of your great LXR properties.
Yes, I'm at the Biltmore Mayfair, which is in Grosvenor Square in London, which is a fantastic location, beautiful hotel, and hope to have you. I know you take your show on the road quite often, so I'd love to have you here sometime or at one of our other properties.
Yeah, that would be amazing. We love doing things live. Mm-hmm.
Now,
Anthony?
what hotels in Vegas are LXR? Any of them?
In Las Vegas, we have a hotel called Crockford's Las Vegas, which is part of the Resorts World Complex.
I didn't realize that was part of LXR. That's great.
Anthony and I didn't want to say that. I had thought that because it's one of my favorite hotels, and I assumed it was. So I wanted to give you the announcement. I didn't want to say it. But I love that hotel. I love the uniforms. I love the rooms. I love everything about that hotel.
Yeah, so the story of that hotel is very interesting. It's really positioned at the top of the hotel market, and it in local parlance, it's oriented towards the high rollers. But I like to call them distinguished players, given that Crockford's is a British brand.
Distinguished players, I like it. And Crawford comes out of England, right? The Crawford brand comes out of England. There was a small hotel. Crawford. That's what I said. I thought Crockford. It comes out of
Crockford's. Crockford's is one of the most pedigreed and gaming establishments in London, and the owner of Resorts World acquired the Crockford's Club in London and wanted to bring that premium British hospitality to Las Vegas. So, it's doing really well, and I'm really glad you like it.
Yeah, Shannon and her team do a great job over there.
And of course, we're referring to Shannon McCallum, the VP of Operations of Resorts World. Yeah, and what I like about it is true luxury, and it's a great opportunity for us to enter into this conversation through sharing what we saw as luxury there. And to me, the true luxury, Faisal, of that property was they really anticipated your needs, and they really took care of you in a meaningful way. I wanted some ice. They brought me ice, and they're like, would you like ice delivered at this time every day? And I'm like, that is amazing. Little tiny details like that.
Listen, and you know this better than anybody, the little details are the big details. Faisal, I mean, that's what you built your brand on. The little details, that's it. It's, the little things are the big things.
Yeah, I mean, the brand is really built on three key pillars. One of them is individual design. So every property has its own design ethos and pedigree that really reflects the locale in which it's based. And then the second is around what you just mentioned, which is bespoke personal service. And what that really means is that it's paying attention to every little detail and fulfilling the individuality of each guest. So if Glenn wanted monogrammed ice, I'm sure they could have arranged it for him. But it's about service that's not mass produced and always personally delivered. And then the third sort of pillar, as it were, of what we try to achieve in our hotels is the experiential. And really that's about celebrating the local area by revealing the human side of the hidden gems and leaving our guests with not just memories, but a richer appreciation of the people and way of life that make up a destination.
Yeah, and your concierge there is one of the best in Vegas and probably best in the country. And she, every time I'm in there, she gives me a hug. She can't do enough for me, and she knows everything. It's funny because I have a lot of concierge friends, and I have one friend that's really, 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 really a big deal in the city that they work in. And every time they give me advice on a restaurant or a show, it stinks. Every time she says something, it's brilliant. Every time she says something, it's brilliant.
Well, I'm glad that's the case, and I'd love to have you experience some of our other properties as well.
Right. So Faisal, you folks have really been doing a great job at building up a luxury portfolio with different brands. You've got, of course, the Waldorf Astoria collection that everybody knows, and this is a little bit different, right? This is a soft brand that's a little more freeform and boutique-y, which is why it falls under the soft brand kind of category, right? Tell us a little bit more, if you can, about your particular point of view for what you're looking for member properties within the collection.
So, when we're looking at growing the collection, it's really about curating these stories that represent, that each property represents. And that story, that narrative then flows through the entire guest experience, whether that's the physical hardware, like the design, as I mentioned, or the service, which is really unique to each property. So the way that they deliver the hospitality is unique and has a certain spirit to it, which is really independent and celebrates what we like to call the timeless pursuit of personal adventure for our guests. And so, when we select these properties, that story is really important. And then their perspective on how to deliver that hospitality in a unique manner is critical. Of course, we're in the real estate business, so market, location also are critical. But if you were to ask me what's important for LXR, it would be the story of the hotel and how that is brought to life.
Finest pursuit of personal adventure. Did I get that right?
Timeless pursuit. Timeless.
Yes, I love that.
Okay, not to throw a wrench in things, but I need to know when's the Waldorf in New York opening?
I think that I'll have to get back to you on that, but I think it's the early part of 2025, if I remember correctly.
I'd like you to open it in 2024, please.
2024, end of 2024. I meant to say end of 2024.
Yeah, it's New Year's Eve, baby. We'll have a big party over there for the grand comeback.
Amanda says 2024. Amanda's in our green room.
Yeah. Well, I guess it sounds like you're invited to the party.
Yeah. Oh, I was at the last party when it closed. I was literally there when it closed, and I want to be there when it opens.
Okay. All right. We'll try to make that happen.
So Faisal. So here's the thing. I love what you guys are doing over there, but you have to find the right pairing of owners, right? They have to have that right mindset. They don't just need to own a piece of real estate, right? So how do you guys kind of find those particular individuals and steer them towards maybe this kind of development as opposed to being with like a Waldorf Astoria, for example?
So, I think that's a critical part of what we do as we curate the collection. And, what we're obviously looking at is the destination, the location, the product, and the story, which I mentioned. But as critical as all of that is the owner themselves. And these are long-term relationships. These are because each property is so independent and has a unique story. The vision of the owner and the vision we collaborate with them on is it's important that we see eye to eye, and we share a common vision and we share common values. And so when we look for owners, we really look for owners with whom we share that vision, those values, but with whom we can also make a meaningful contribution to the hospitality landscape. And so,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
And so, just to whether a Waldorf Astoria or an LXR is suited to them. I think with Waldorf Astoria, it's such a pedigree brand. It has so much history, and it has a way of delivering hospitality that is uniquely Waldorf Astoria. Whereas with LXR, it shifts to the property itself. And so I think owners have a lot more flexibility when it comes to manifesting their vision. And if you think about the owners who have these sorts of hotels, they're sophisticated global travelers themselves. They've traveled the world, they've stayed in, and sometimes even owned other luxury brands. And now this is their opportunity to take their unique perspective on luxury hospitality and create it in their very unique branded hotel that happens to be part of the LXR collection.
Yeah, and I think that's very important. The mindsets have to be like-minded mindsets, because these type of hotels are not for the faint-hearted, or not for the people that have their first introduction into the hotel business. It's not milk money type of hotels.
It's a little different than building a true.
Yeah. And you have to understand why this one element of the hotel business, whether it be an amenity or whether it be a service or whether it be a great concierge, why that's important to the entire brand and the entire success of your hotel. And if you're not understanding the business from the ground up, you're going to challenge a lot of standards. And that's been my experience. So when people come into this market, it's a market that you have to really understand, or it's going to be very stressful and very challenging.
No, that's absolutely right, and that's why this owner relationship is important. And just as an aside, before I joined Hilton, I joined Hilton about 4 years ago to launch and grow the LXR brand. But prior to that, I spent about 10 years on the owner side of the table, and so when I work with owners, I do think about it from their perspective. But then we work together to really realize a common vision, and that's where the shared values and shared understanding is really important.
So when you talk about common, go for it, Anthony.
I was just going to say, I think more than ever, whereas there was a separation between owners and brands, and there's still some challenges, obviously, but I think brands are in the situation now, and owners, they both feel the same type of pain, whether it be economic pain, whether it be labor pain, whether it be challenges with finding the right products. I think I think they're sharing the pain, and I think that they're getting a lot closer in vision than maybe they were 10 years ago, 5 years ago.
Yeah, so the holy grail for us when we look at projects is, obviously we want to make our owners financially successful, right? With the project and with the hotel. So their commercial success is important and is a fundamental objective. But we also want to deliver products of beauty, that things that last the test of time and that are not faddish, but they're really true luxury experiences that our guests can enjoy and take pleasure from. But then the third part of that, and that's why there's three things that really matter, is how can we deliver something that gives more to the community and the world around us. So I think those three elements: making money, doing something of beauty, and giving back. If we can get that on a project, then it's not a job for us. We love it.
Yeah. I want to talk a little bit more about what you were saying with common vision, right? So, how do you think about what the luxury guest is looking for today, while also satisfying the needs of the ownership group and creating something that's also going to be for the whole community at large?
So, I think in terms of the stakeholders, you've identified three of them that we think about. The fourth one, which is also critical, are team members. So I think we have to consider all four stakeholders when we think about projects. But starting with the guest, look, we came up with LXR because we recognized and appreciated through a lot of research that there was a growing segment in the luxury space that were looking for more individualized experiences that were authentic to the destination and personalized to them. And so this type of customer, we call them the intrigued adventurers, and these are like I said, sophisticated global travelers. Their luxury travel is a lifestyle for them. So they're always planning their next adventure. They're restless by nature. They see themselves as distinct, and they want their travel experiences to reflect their curated lives. And so they really avoid the formulaic and cookie cutter. And so when we think about this type of guest, and we talk about the concept of the timeless pursuit of personal adventure, what we found is that this guest makes a conscious choice to go and stay at an independent branded property, whereas and so our team members, if you think about it, have that same choice, and they could work at a sort of very known brand, or they could work at an independent branded property which has its own unique way of delivering hospitality, and similar choice is there for our owners. So they could also have a big brand, or they could have an independent branded property. And so I think that level of choice is available both to the customer, to the team member, and to the owner. And so we see a lot of alignment there. But in terms of the creating a vision, we work with the owner to really define what the concept for, if it's a new build hotel or a conversion. We try to come up with a concept for the property, and then we develop that concept through the design and the renovation, and then the team members, the hiring of the team members, the training of the team members. So I'll give you an example. I think these things are always easier with examples. So we have a property in the Seychelles called Mango House, and Mango House was originally built as a family dwelling by a celebrated Italian fashion photographer called Gianpaolo Barbieri. And Barbieri was, he was quite big in the 60s and 70s. He covered, he had the cover of Vogue frequently, and he was just very well known in the fashion world. And so he went to the Seychelles, fell in love with the place, bought this piece of land, built a house, and then proceeded to go there every year for a couple of months with an eclectic group of friends that included artists, designers, writers, musicians, maybe some models. And, some came to rest and relax, some came to work on a project, and some came to just have fun. And so when we had the opportunity to take Barbieri's sort of house and convert it into a boutique hotel in 41 rooms, we really wanted to keep that spirit of a home. We wanted to keep that spirit of an open house where your friends are always welcome. There's always something going on, and keep those creative and animal spirits that had previously been there through the guest experience. So we created 5 food and beverage experiences in this 41-room property. And if you've been to the Seychelles, it's one of the most incredible places on earth. Both culturally, but also from a flora and fauna and the nature that you have access to there. And most of the resorts in the Seychelles have historically been very closed to the public and very private. And only if you're a guest, you go there, and you go there and it's known as a honeymoon destination. So we really wanted to turn that on its head a little bit, and create a place where local people were welcome. If you were staying at another resort, you were welcome. And so create that convivial and social experience, and yet allow our guests to really experience the beauty of the destination. So that's an example where we really thought about how to align with the owner and with the team members that we then hired to deliver that experience. And I'm happy to say it's one of the most successful resorts we have in our portfolio. And what we found when we put these very unique, one-of-a-kind properties in our portfolio, Hilton as an ecosystem has over 7,000 hotels, but these are very unique. And so you have this incredible guest population. In the Hilton Honors program now has 165 million members. So when they see these unique experiences, the product just flies off the shelf. And so we're very excited to have properties like this in the portfolio.
Yeah, you only have 165 million members. Wow!
Yeah, get on it, man.
When are you guys going to improve? God, Jesus! What are you sleeping?
Yeah. We've been slacking. We only got 62 million in the last 3 years. So,
Yeah, that's amazing. So, Feisal, what I find really interesting about this discussion is really the maturation of the luxury business over the last 10 years, right? And now we're starting to see all these different flavors of luxury out there. How do you see how luxury has changed, generally speaking, in your career, and where would you like to see it headed through the lens of LXR?
Look, I think luxury is always been about delivering personalized service. So I think that's something that we really strive to do, and we try to make it personal to the guest. I think what we also try to do is we offer them this level of exclusivity. And when I say exclusive, it's not that you have to
mean like access, right? Access to things, right?
Well, yeah, and it's the access, and it's personalized. So if it doesn't mean that you have to be like I said, uber wealthy to experience it, or you have to be dressed a certain way and the velvet rope goes up as you approach the door. It's really about that you could only have that experience at or through that property, and it's personalized to your taste, and to your needs. And so I think that's very important in luxury. I think there's this element of wellness that is also about personalization, where luxury is not necessarily about gold leaf on caviar, on foie gras, on wagyu. It's about personalizing the food and beverage or the wellness experience to your needs. In one day you may be in the mood for martinis and oysters, and the next day you may want a green juice. And that we have to be able to flex in both ways and not be sort of sanctimonious about it when you're on either of those poles of your experience.
I think what you're saying is simplicity and friction-free is the new luxury. And that's really
funny you should say that, Anthony, because that's exactly what I was going to say. For me, true luxury is being able to have what I want when I want it in a frictionless environment where it just happens. I have enough friction in my life. Just getting through this airport is enough. So I just want to relax, not have to think.
Yeah, your nickname is Friction.
So, Glenn, it's the way I would take two parts of that and add one little pinch or something on that. So it's what you want, when you want it, and how you want it. Because like if you've ever learned foreign language, you sometimes you know what you want, but it's hard to say how you want it. And so that's where I think it's important, and that's where the anticipation is also important, because the guest may not be able to articulate or may not have to articulate, but you are able to anticipate it.
Yeah, and I think that's the most important thing about that level of customer, even if they're not super wealthy, but they're well traveled, is the anticipation. I've said this many times. It's people at that level bought it, sold it, invented it. You can't impress them. The only way you can impress them is with people and anticipation. Things don't impress them. They have the car, they have the house, they've traveled first class. They have it. They don't need it. They want something that they don't have. And you can only do that through an experience and through anticipation.
And so, Anthony, going to your friendships with concierges around the world, I think, one example I can provide out of the several in our portfolio is a hotel in Japan called Roku Kyoto. And the concierge there is Tanaka-san is fantastic, professional and individual, and really makes for unforgettable experiences. And the experiences they offer at that property are truly unique and really showcase the destination. One of them, for me, I actually did it, and I'd read about it before I went to Japan, and then I had the luxury to take part in it. But it's that craft of, it's called kintsugi, where they take broken ceramics and broken pottery and they give it a new life or another life by mending.
Sometimes filled with like gold and stuff like that, right?
It's actually lacquer, and then yes, there's gold dust on top of it. But what's very interesting about that, and again, this is not done in a sanctimonious way, is that if you can actually do it, but also learn about all the different elements that go into it, you'll have a much richer and more authentic experience, because the lacquer that goes into it is it's very laborious to actually extract that lacquer, that sap from the tree, and there's very few people who are doing it. It takes a lot of time and effort to do it. So by engaging in this experience, you are not just learning about it, but you're also keeping the craft alive in a way. And I think that's really important. But again, this is done in a very in a way that's frictionless for the guest, but you are playing your part within the community as well as keeping some of these arts and crafts alive in certain destinations.
How are people looking to engage with community when they're at a luxury property such as ones in your portfolio?
So I think, again, it's through these experiences. I think it's through the food and beverage experiences that we have, but then also these cultural experiences. So, for example, paper making in Japan, the traditional paper making process, the kintsugi, which I mentioned, in the Seychelles. There's engaging with the artists that live around the hotel, and art being a very important part of that hotel's positioning and story. And then in Bodrum on the Aegean coast in Turkey, there's opportunities to make sandals, your own sandals, and again engage in a craft. But it's not just engaging in a craft, you're also keeping the craft alive, and you're also giving back to the community that's around you. There's other ways to engage, which is again subtly which relate to sustainability and the environment, where an experience can not only give the guest a very a very unique perspective and unforgettable memory from their holiday, but it also keeps it helps improve the environment or preserve it in some way as they're doing it.
Excellent. Now, before we start heading towards wrapping up, Faisal, I'm curious as to what's going on in the future for you. What is the development environment out there? Because these are expensive hotels to build, and what are you seeing, and what kind of projects are coming down the pike for you?
So the portfolio now has 12 hotels that are operating around the world. And we have another half a dozen in the pipeline at this current time. But by the end of the year, we anticipate about 14 hotels open, as well as another 10 in the pipeline. This year will probably be a very good year for signings. Conversion activity does pick up when there is a sort of harder times on the horizon. We've had a very good trading environment, as you all know, for the last couple of years. As we emerged from COVID, which was obviously traumatic for everybody. So there's been a good trading environment, but as there's sort of interest rates, as well as some normalization of demand, there has been more conversion activity and interest from owners to be part of a larger system. So that's there. New builds, as you know, and certainly in the Western world, are less prevalent because of the interest rate environment, but certainly in other markets, especially in Asia and the Middle East, we're seeing an incredible amount of activity, even with new build hotels.
Really, in Asia, you're seeing a lot of activity. I was surprised by that. Are you where are you from pre-pandemic to now in in occupancy, and how's business in Asia?
Business in Asia is trading very well now. Obviously, the Chinese traveler has not yet returned to regional or international travel the way that they were traveling pre-pandemic. But that has had a domestic benefit. So there's a lot of travel within China, and as you know, the population is large enough to fill the hotels that they have within the region. Yes, there is an impact from the absence of the Chinese traveler, but that's returning. And for example, Japan, prior to the pandemic was on record trajectory and just expanding in terms of tourist numbers tremendously, and all the reasons that made it such a fantastic destination to visit, not just the major cities, but a lot of other destinations, from the ski destinations to destinations like Okinawa and so on. All of those reasons are still applicable today. And so we're seeing a resurgence in travel in Japan. Our Hotel Roku, when after travel opened up in Japan, we had a number of journalists who wanted I think there were about 5 in the space of as many weeks who went to stay at the property. Coincidentally, it was around cherry blossom time, so keep that in your notes when you want to travel.
But Faisal, it's funny you should say that. Now, Japan was a little bit more conservative in their approach to COVID, so they opened up a little bit later. We've been wanting to go there as a family since 2020, but we weren't able to make it that summer. Unfortunately, both my kids are taking Japanese now, so when we do get there, it'll be a frictionless environment for me. They can handle all.
They're both taking Japanese.
Yeah, one of my sons is also taking Mandarin, so we hopefully will be
at the same time.
Yeah.
They have their mother's brain.
They definitely don't have mine.
You have trouble with English. No, I'm sorry. That's me, not you. That's crazy. You know what? At the end, I love this. I love this because it gives owners options, right?
Yep.
And I think it was a need. I think all brands are doing something like this because it was a need of people at a certain level. They're creative, and they don't want to be told this is how you open a hotel. This is the format. This is the standard. They want to be able to create with someone that's an expert, but have input. And this is such a creative outlet for so many owners that I know that really love the hotel business. It kind of gets your passion back in the business. If you can be an owner and open up a bunch of branded hotels with a brand, and they can do a lot of the work, the brand. But this is when people really want to kind of express themselves and really have their creative ideas listened to. So I love it, and you feel it, and you don't feel the brand like you don't feel like Crockford. There is no feeling other than Crockford when you go there.
Yeah, so it's a singular experience that really speaks to the place and the history and what the individual properties sort of brand is. But from an owner's perspective, you really have, and I'm always puzzled by this expression, because what else would you do with a cake if you wouldn't eat it? But you can have your cake and eat it, because you have that independence, you have that flexibility. Your property's identity is at the forefront and really the focal point for the guest and the world. But you have the backing of Hilton. You have access to all of our luxury resources and teams and programs that are, by the way, shared with Waldorf Astoria and Conrad. And so you have the best of both worlds in a sense, and then you have the entire power of the Hilton ecosystem, the sales and marketing, the global distribution, the technology, the procurement. And so I think it's a fantastic opportunity for owners to be part of something but have their independence.
Yeah, when you're investing that kind of money at this level, I mean, to go it alone, you're rolling the dice. And how many independent hotels at this level have been successful? There are a lot. But percentage-wise, I'd imagine, and there's a couple I know off the top of my head that are failing because they don't have the resources behind them.
Yeah, so the way that I think about it, and it really was born out of the pandemic when we were all locked up, in our individual sort of places of shelter, as it were. And that's, you can be independent, but you don't have to be alone. And so we talked about being independent together, and that's really the sort of thesis of what we're trying to do.
That's the of me and Glenn. That's why we do it together. We're independently alone.
That's true. Absolutely.
We're dependent, independent.
So I will tell you, I'm looking forward to getting back to Crockford's, assuming Shannon puts us there. If not, I'll stay at the Conrad, which is amazing as well. For those of you who want to see us in Las Vegas, hey, come on down to the 3rd Annual Nevada Hotel Technology Association. The Nevada Hotel and Lodging Association 3rd Annual Tech Conference, November 29th at Blackfin Studios. Feisal, how about a good plug for your brand and anything else that you want to post?
Listen, I think the more that we can get people to experience our properties, I think that's the best that we can, the best way for them to understand what it is. I can speak all day with you, but the proof of the pudding is always in the eating. And you have experienced Crockford's, but I invite you to our next opening, which is in Bali. Near the end of the year, and that'll be a fantastic property, all villa. The units are quite large, so you could take your whole family, Glenn, over there, and the villas are over 250 square meters, so you can fit your whole family.
Let me check our policy on Bali. We work for airfare and food. Yep, that's what it says.
Massages. You don't forget massages. Yeah.
But it was a pleasure. And tell my friend Larry I said hello.
Larry Traxler.
I will.
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. Take care, Feisal. Oh, goodness.
That was Larry was in the Crockford lobby. That's funny.
Yeah.
That was fun.
It was a heck of a lot more fun than me having to go board a flight right now. That's for sure. But hey, listen, while I'm flying back to New York, why don't you guys, I'm trying to make my transition, but I can't get it up on my screen. Why don't you guys, there you go, download the podcast. Find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, SoundCloud, wherever you get your podcasts. He's at Anthony Hotels. I'm at Traveling Glenn. And remember, you've got one life, so blaze on. And
Be kind to yourself.
See y'all later.
And let's